Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Rashmi from Madras Dyslexia Association, and I'm also, like Mrs. Stan, a parent, and have been involved with the Madras Dyslexia Association for past 2 years. And we are here. We first of all thank the Dyslexia Association of Singapore for having accepted our paper and giving us this opportunity to present our paper at this conference. I'm Rashmi and Harini. Both of us have been involved with the Dyslexia Week. Harini has been involved with the Dyslexia Week for much longer than I have been. We are here presenting a case for extracurricular intervention for the remediation of children with dyslexia. You may wonder, what is this extracurricular intervention? Because when we talk of remediation has almost always been academic. All over the world, when we think of children with dyslexia, we talk about children with dyslexia, we talk about their difficulties, difficulties with reading, difficulties in spelling, writing, arithmetic, and several methodologies and methods have been devised to help in teaching these academic skills to children with dyslexia. We talk of a lot of these academic methods, different kinds of methods to teach children how to read, how to spell, or even how to do math. There has always been a stress on academics and the pressure to excel in academics. Academic success, which could lead to good career, has always been the dream of every parent and of every child. So even if the child has dyslexia, we hope that he does good in academics, he overcomes his difficulties, he does good in academics, and then finally he lands into a so-called good career. But here is a child who is having dyslexia, who has dyslexia. He may be brilliantly creative, but he is struggling with academics. And in most probability, nobody has noticed his brilliance, neither has he himself realized how creatively, what is his creative potential. So as a result, research says that children with dyslexia are always under high emotional and psychological stress from the expectations of their teachers and of their parents. Many of them even have to bear the trauma of getting teased or getting bullied at in school. But studies have also shown that people with dyslexia are much more creative than most others. They're able to see patterns. They're able to solve problems by imagining and rotating things in their minds. They're able to spin stories. They're able to create scenes in their minds. They may be good at figuring out how things work, or they may also be good at figuring out how situations work. And that is the reason why so many of them are inventors, so many of them are out-of-the-box thinkers. Richard Branson, the founder of Virgin Airlines, he is a shining example. Steven Spielberg was the one who brought dinosaurs alive for us. They both have dyslexia. Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb, has 400 other inventions to his name. Leonardo da Vinci, the most celebrated Renaissance painter. Then we have Pablo Picasso, who's a modern artist. All of them have had dyslexia. So we decided to shift our focus from academics, and in this, and we are now here presenting a case for this shift, especially for those countries which are more oriented towards academics and more, we can say, more scholastically oriented. We are now here presenting an alternate path. Yes, an alternate path does exist, if only we are able to break the notion that scholastic aptitude is the only way to prove one's merit or to prove how good a person is. At Madras Dyslexia Association, we decided to expose our students to a wide variety of creative activities. We wanted to change the perception that scholastic ability is the only way to judge a person, because that is what we always do mostly. And we wanted to break this notion. We wanted to change this notion, and this is how began the Dyslexia Week. This led to the Dyslexia Week in India. Yes, this is also an awareness campaign to make people aware of the talents hidden within these children. It is an awareness campaign to make the society aware that dyslexia need not be a difficulty, but in fact, it could be a gift. You just need to look for it and find it. Only then can children with dyslexia feel included, feel accepted. Aren't all of us in this room working to make society much more inclusive for children with dyslexia, for people with dyslexia? Events like Dyslexia Week could be one step ahead in that direction towards the inclusive society. In fact, we have seen a marked improvement in the confidence levels of children who have been participating in the Dyslexia Week. Their peers, their teachers now look at them differently, look at them with admiration. How did all this happen? Harini Mohan over here, who's my co-presenter, spearheaded the campaign in 2014, which brought the Dyslexia Week to Madras Dyslexia Association. The next part of the presentation will be made by herself.
Good afternoon, one and all present here. Dyslexia Week. Yes, a platform to showcase the talent of these wonderful children. The minute we talked about and we decided to have a platform for these children, we also had to decide on the format that we are going to give. The format of this platform is extremely important. Just give me about a minute, please. You're right. The first thing at Madras Dyslexia Association that we did was to form a group. The team met very regularly. The first call that we had to take was on the format, and we decided competition would be the best format. Competition for our dyslexic children? Yes, I know quite a few eyebrows are rising over here. Competition should be designed in such a way that it does not create intimidation. Competition which is not fiercely competitive. That throws another question. How are we going to make it without intimidation? The minute we say competition to our children, they sort of feel a little scared. Then we decided, let's list out. We all know, in spite of giving a lot of help, our dyslexic children have varied difficulties in various areas, especially in the executive function like time management and other things. So we decided once we list out these difficulties and provide suitable accommodation, obviously the intimidation would be removed completely. The next biggest challenge that we thought we would face is to convince and to garner support for whatever we were doing. It was decided that we will take in children from various schools. I do not know if you all know, Chennai, the place where we all come from, is a very big place where there are plenty of schools. And some of the schools were aware of this condition called dyslexia. But some of the schools were not even aware. Even the schools that were aware were only aware of the difficulties of these children. So whenever we talked about dyslexia, oh yes, these children who have difficulties in reading, writing, spelling, but not a single soul knew that these are children who had a lot of creative ability in them. And so it meant we had to convince, go speak to them, talk to them, and garner support. As we have decided that it was going to be the competition format, what are the competitions? That was one of the easiest answers that we had, because we wanted to showcase the natural ability and talent of these children, and we all know dyslexic children are highly creative. So hence our competitions, we decided to have it for a week long based on the creative lines or on the creative lines. So we listed out a set of 6 competition: art, art from waste, Rangoli. I don't know if you all know Rangoli. Rangoli calls on for a pattern, filling it up with colors. Culinary skill. Some of the children are really, really good at it, but we never give them a chance to experiment. And these were few of the competitions that we decided to have. then concessions, because we remembered that we had to remove the intimidation that some of these children would definitely have. So we listed out a long list of difficulties that these children would have, but we narrowed down on 3 difficulties which most of the dyslexic children have. Time management. That is one issue that we face with almost all the dyslexic children. Material management. How many ever times we tell them to bring material, they often come to a place without bringing in the right material. Restlessness and fidgetiness. That's another thing. 15 minutes into something, they feel very restless. They keep moving from place to place. So it was decided not to take off the time-based competition. Time would be allotted for each and every competition. But at the same time, in case we have a child who needed extra time to finish something that she was doing, maybe an artwork, she was expected to finish within 60 minutes and she needed 10 more minutes to finish. We did not want to stop the child from doing it. We wanted to give that extra bit of time. Material management, yes, we decided to send out a list of things that the child is expected to bring. But just in case if a child turns up without any of the materials, we did not want to send back the child without taking part in the competition. That meant stocking up a lot of things from our end, and hence we come across a child who wanted a color pencil or a chopping board or a knife. We wanted to help the child. Idea was to help each and every child take part in the competition, but not to go back without taking part on the basis of not having adequate material. Restlessness and fidgetiness. Halfway into the competition, if a child is going to feel restless and fidgety, we did not want to stop, but we wanted to allow the child to move around a bit and then resume whatever we were resuming. With all this formulated, we moved from school to school. We visited 50 schools, and 16 schools were positive, and they decided to send their children. Around 250 children from these 16 schools took part in the first edition of Dyslexia Week 2014, our stepping stone in the direction of making the world understand the creative abilities of these children. We also had a special request to all the school heads. We said, the only request that we have once the child comes back after taking part in Dyslexia Week was to call them on stage during assembly so that the entire school knows about their creative ability. It is about pure acceptance that we were also working at. Final numbers, as I told you, was 250. And for most of these children, that was the first time that they took part in any competition of any sorts. And the week-long program started. I would like to just share a few pictures, ladies and gentlemen. I really want you to look at your faces, look at the happiness that you see in some of their faces, the longing, the happiness, and can you just see the little child who's sitting there? And that I felt, or rather we felt, was the biggest success that we were looking for. And here you will see a couple of volunteers helping the children when they're feeling very restless. So these are the accommodations which made sure that the children are not intimidated. So what were the outcomes? A general improvement in the perception about dyslexia among the community. It didn't stop with that. Some of these children got a chance to take part in open competitions and competitions outside, in inter-school competitions, intra-school competitions, and they took part with a lot of happiness. A little bit of anxiety, yes, but they got a chance and they did take part. A quantitative study on confidence is definitely going to be held, maybe at the end of this year. And it did not stop with the perception among the community. It's very important for all of us to have self-belief. It's extremely important. Unless we believe in ourselves, we may not be able to do whatever we want to do or whatever we aspire to do. This Dyslexia Week first edition brought about a lot of self-belief among these children. So did we just stop with 2014? Did we do anything more? Yes. We had it in 2015, 2016, 2017 too. We've had 4 editions of Dyslexia Week, and look at the numbers. Numbers have been rising steadily. Increase in numbers is not just in terms of children taking part. We also saw a steady increase in the number of schools sending their children for Dyslexia Week. So that made us understand that the general community is slowly waking up to the idea that these are children who have a lot of potential in them. Last year, 2017, we are extremely happy to let you know that we scheduled it between the 2nd and 8th of October to coincide with Dyslexia Week being celebrated at DAS and British Dyslexia Association. We hope to do the same this year too. Here I have, I would like to place a request before you, ladies and gentlemen. Please give them a platform to showcase their talent. We need to do it. There are umpteen number of research and research papers that are available which tells you how important it is for a child to find out their potential, how important it is as facilitators and as parents to give them a chance to showcase their talent, which will definitely improve their self-esteem. But after having 4 editions of Dyslexia Week, we are not done. We have another very small finding that's come out. Of course, that will be authenticated at the end of the scientific study that we are planning to do in 2018. I would like to just take one small case study to tell you what we found out. A child around 9 years found to be dyslexic who was receiving remedial help in one of the resource rooms inside the school did not have any self-esteem at all. She would never mingle with anybody. She would never talk to anybody. For her to look up and talk to a group of 2 or 3 was very difficult, so low that she was feeling. And this particular child was asked to take part in Dyslexia Week, and she came in with a lot of anxiety. It took quite a bit on our part to convince her and cajole her to actually go about performing whatever she did. And after the initial hesitation of 5 to 10 minutes, she was wonderful. She won a couple of prizes. Once she went back to school, her name was announced in the assembly. It did a lot of good for her self-belief. It didn't stop there. She slowly started mingling with others. It didn't stop there too. Her mind became very receptive. Her mind became receptive even to the remedial help that was given to improve her academics. And she took the initiative to go on stage and demonstrate one of the remedial help that was given to improve her spellings. So here, I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, it's not just the self-belief that we are talking about. Co-curricular activity will definitely help the child to improve the self-belief, which in turn will make them very receptive, which in turn will help them to improve their academics. So it is not just self-belief, but what starts as a platform to improve to identify their potential and acceptance by the whole society has a long-reaching effect. When Rashmi was talking about, she said something like the so-called good career. For a person to excel in career, it's extremely important for them to be emotionally absolutely good. And the career has to be chosen after looking into the strengths of a particular child. What is a good career to you may not be a good career to me. So it's very important. But sometimes our dyslexic children end up choosing wrong careers because they don't even know what they're good at. So let's give them a platform to showcase their talent. Let's all join together to find out what they're good at. That will definitely help them to choose the right path. Let's embrace dyslexia. When I talk of embracing dyslexia, I'm not talking just of the difficulties. Embracing dyslexia, and if you talk only about the difficulties, we are only embracing the dyslexic child in part. If you're talking of embracing the dyslexic child as a whole, it also talks about identifying the potential that they all have. Empower these children. Yes, empower them to overcome the difficulties that they have in academic areas, but also empowering them and asking them to hone their skills. That's extremely important. Maybe they'll become their career path later on. Once we do these two, you will definitely see an overall elevation in the child. So let's embrace them as a whole, let's empower them, and let's elevate them to great heights. I'm not stopping, I just have 1 more minute. So once we do all this, the whole definition of dyslexia will definitely change. I'm not saying we're going to redefine dyslexia, but we're going to rephrase dyslexia. If we ask you what is dyslexia, we rant out. We say it's a neurological condition which has processing delays and visual processing, blah, 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 blah. And maybe if time permits and if the other person is willing to listen, they are also creative is an add-on that we give to the definition. Once we have a platform to showcase their talent, the whole thing will get rephrased. We would say dyslexic children are children who are extremely creative, who are good at this and good at that, and they may also have certain difficulties in academics, and that's how we need to learn. And for that, it is very important for them to give a platform to showcase their talent. Platform need not always mean competition. It can be any particular format that you are comfortable with, but let us all join hands to bring out the creative ability which has an overall effect and which will help the child to elevate completely. Thank you. We, from Madras Dyslexia Association, would like to thank DAS for having given us this opportunity and the whole lot of you who've been present here to take this up I'm sure you'll all look at your ways of giving them a platform to showcase their talent. Thank you.